Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin. Farrell, please go ahead.
Good morning, and welcome to Law Firm Website T's and C's, proven website strategies to attract the right clients. My name is Farrell McManus. I'm the Associate Publisher of the New York Law Journal and Regional Sales Director for ALM's Media Brands. We have a terrific panel lined up for you today. Joining us for today's discussion will be Brian Salamone of Brian Salamone & Associates, PC, David J. Joffe of Joffe Law, Frank Grippo, who is Vice President of Martindale-Hubbell's Web Visibility Solutions, and also will be joined by Felice D'Addario, Creative Director of Martindale-Hubbell's Web Visibility Solutions. Today's webinar presentation is presented by Martindale-Nolo, the Martindale-Nolo Legal Marketing Network, helping attorneys grow their practice with the largest legal marketing network, with 15 million visitors to their network of sites, 40,000 legal websites built or hosted. They have 100,000 requests to speak with local attorneys, 160 years of experience in legal marketing. Martindale-Nolo provides websites, lead generation, legal profiles, and live chat. A little information about today's program. We encourage you, and please feel free to submit questions through the webinar's platform. There's a chat functionality that you can take advantage of, and please feel free to ask any of our speakers questions. We will respond to those questions during our Q&A session in the last 15 minutes. We may not be able to get to all of your questions during the live presentation of this. However, someone will get back to you with an answer to your question at a later date. Webinar replay will be provided to all attendees and registrants after the event. And if at any time after this webinar you want to contact Martindale-Nolo directly, please call them at 1-800-526-4902 or at info@martindale.com. And at this time, I think we'd also like to kick this off by posing a poll question to you, the listeners, today. So if we could queue up that poll question, that would be terrific. You'll see it on your screen there, and we ask you to respond, and we'll provide you with your responses actually during the Q&A session. And the question is, have you received a client from your website during the past 30 days? Please answer yes, no, or I'm not sure, or that you don't track this information. So please submit your answer now. And then once you do, I'm actually going to turn the program over to Frank, who's going to take it away.
Thanks, Farrell. So today we are going to talk about what we call the T's and C's. What are the T's and C's? Targeting the right clients. We're going to help you focus on the right clients. Driving traffic to your website, not just traffic, but the right traffic. And converting website visitors into clients. Now that you have them, how do you get them to contact you? The phone is ringing, but it's not the right type of client calling you. How many times have you answered the phone only to find that the prospect wasn't the right fit for you? They wanted free advice, or they're not in your geographical area. They needed counsel on petty crime. You handle serious litigation. You have to ask yourself, what type of cases do you want to handle? The ones that are most rewarding, ones that you enjoy the most, ones that are most profitable, and then which market segment is likely to bring in these cases. And that sets the foundation. So that market segment dictates your marketing, both print and online, design of the website, and the content. So how do we do this? We create personas. So what is a persona? It's a fictitious character that has the characteristics of the target audience you're striving for. Do you want 20 to 30-year-old DUI clients, middle-aged executives looking to create a retirement plan? If either one of those clients came into your office, you would speak differently to them. That's what your website needs to say. Your marketing message needs to talk about that market segment that you want, and that will drive the right client to you. And a little bit later on, we're going to hear from Brian Salamone, who faced the challenge of he had to serve two personas at once, and we'll see what he did. All right, so we have the right client. Now, driving traffic to your website. You know who you want as a client. How do you get them to your website? So your website's not getting enough visitors, or it's not getting the right visitors. And a little bit later, we're going to hear from David Joffe, who had a situation where the phone was ringing, emails were coming in, but they weren't the right client. And we'll hear and see what he did to correct that. All right, everybody wants to be returned in the free organic listings on Google. So SEO, right? Search engine optimization. You need to have the basic SEO practices to come back on Google to get into that organic listings. What are some of the things we can do? You could have some good title tags, pages that are linked together, unique quality content. I'm going to say that again. Unique quality content that answers prospects' questions. Your homepage, specifically your homepage, is not a bio. It is not your biography or your resume. The people that are going to your website have a problem. They need to see that you have the answers to their problem and how you are going to solve that. And in a few minutes, Felicia is going to get into details about how important content is and how you tailor that content. What else do you need to get traffic to your website? Optimize your Google My Business page. You may have heard of Google Places. You may have heard of Google Plus. Google has combined those together into Google My Business. And I get this question a lot. I have a website. Why do I need it? The definition, Google My Business complements your existing website by giving your business a public identity. That's the definition. You want the truth? Google wants it. And if Google wants it, you better do it. And as a matter of fact, everybody on this phone call, you probably already have a Google My Business page. They've scraped your website and they created it. What you now need to do is claim it and verify it. What do we got to do on it? You have to make sure that the firm name, the phone number, the address, and the URL are all correct. So look here. I know this screen is small, but this was a Ventura car accident search, right? So because I did a search on geography, you see over here on the left, I got back a local search, right? I clicked on the very first one, and over to the right popped up their Google My Business page. Some things to note about this page. Number one, the Crane Loris LLP on top. That's the name of their firm. That needs to be spelled exactly the same way on all of your online marketing, your website, all of these listing and directories I'm going to talk about in a minute. Make sure your firm name is spelled the same. Then you got the address right below it. Obviously, your address needs to be correct because I wouldn't even come back in the right geographical search. Third thing is your phone number. Okay, hard enough to get people to actually make it this far. Let's have the phone number be correct, right? So when they actually call you, it actually gets to your office. And fourth thing is that website. Make sure when they click on it, it is your URL. If you've changed URLs or you're redirecting URLs, do not forget to go back and update it on this page. So consumers were polled in choosing a law firm, and the top 3 most important items when choosing an attorney. Number one, 34% was finding someone they can trust. What leads to trust? You see these 2 reviews? See where it says 4.9? Everybody is reading reviews today. Everybody is getting reviews and using reviews to buy services. You have a good experience with a client, before they walk out your office, get a review from them. Whether it's a Google, Yelp, lawyers.com, doesn't matter where, get that review. The second thing, 23% say they look for someone with a proven track record. How do you get that? You do reviews again. And photos. See the photo area up there? That's another reason to build trust and help you get that bond with that client, right? Potential client. And just to note, the last reason for choosing a law firm, 20% are close to work or home. So what does that mean? Make sure your Google My Business page is optimized so you come back in this local search. All right, how else can I get traffic to my website? You can promote yourself on legal directories. So what are legal directories? They're directories that list links to legal websites, right? So if you look here, you will see that this is a search in bankruptcy, Mishawaka, Indiana. Look, legal directory is the first 4. Then a firm's website, another red legal directory, firm's website, 2 more legal directories. You can't compete with them. They're going to outrank you more than likely on Google, so don't. Join them. What are some of these directories? hg.org is a big one. Of course, lawyers.com, Martindale.com, Nolo. But there's also Avo, FindLaw, and Justia. And even as a Martindale.com employee, I'm telling you, get yourself in all of these directories. They all offer free directories. Get out there, make sure the information's up to date. The more directories you are in, the more chance that you're going to come back in the search results. Another way to get traffic to your website is PPC or pay-per-click. So what is that? That's where you buy keywords like a geography or a area of law, and you come back in the right side of Google. So why do you want to do this? Well, maybe you're just starting off and you're in a highly competitive area. A PP, you're not going to come back in page 1 on Google, so PPC campaign can help you get search results there. Another one is traffic outside your geo. This example here, Mishawaka is a suburb of South Bend, Indiana. Maybe you have an office in South Bend. You want to target clients in Mishawaka. You don't have a physical location there. It might be hard for you to optimize for there. You can do pay-per-click and buy some traffic there. The last thing you can do is how about trending keywords? Say there's a major railroad accident or a plane crash, and if that is a market segment you're looking for, you can jump on that and maybe quickly buy some keywords and try and get some traffic. What we're saying here is just kind of tie it all up as consistent marketing. Your offline message needs to be the same as your online message. It needs to tell the same story. And always focus on attracting your target audience. Everything you do in marketing, know that persona, know that market segment you want, and make sure everything is geared towards that. And always, always, always show them that you are solving a problem. You are problem solvers, okay? Make sure they know that when they get to your website. All right, so you have traffic coming to your website. You should be looking at that traffic and just seeing what they're doing when they get there. This right here is an example of a web analytics. Whoever is hosting your website, they will all offer services like this. You get some really valuable information from this. The first one here across the top there, the orange and green and the blue, that's telling me where the traffic is coming from, desktop or mobile. The next one down here is top referrals. Where is that traffic coming from? It's important to know because you might be marketing in some areas. Is it working? How do you know? The next one is top social sites, right? Are you getting any leads from your social media outlets? We don't really talk about social in this webinar. Everyone's doing social right now. It is another marketing avenue for you. Later on this year, we are going to have a webinar about the social profiles, how important they are, what you should do to them, and how you should market them. So look for that. The next one down here is probably the most important one on this page is the keywords. When someone did a search on Google and they went to your website, what keywords did they use to drive there? You look over here, you got grandparents' rights. Maybe you're optimized for visitation rights. Maybe you don't even realize that people were searching grandparents to get to your website. Now if you optimize for that, maybe you would get more traffic. And over to the right, the last one, is you see the map here? That tells you when people were searching, where they were. This is a nationwide view, but if you're more of a local lawyer, you could actually see what cities or counties are searching in. So maybe you want traffic from the next city or the next county and you're not getting it. This will tell you if you are getting it there so that you'll know to maybe change your marketing efforts into that area. Having said that, I would like to introduce Felicia Dario, our creative director, who will talk about how to get that traffic to convert.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. Okay, well, let's recap where we were. So targeting the right clients, right? Frank was talking about personas. Next piece was driving traffic to your website, all right? Those are all tools and resources that you have available to you. Now, the next piece we're going to talk about, one could argue that's probably the most important piece. One could argue a little turn of humor there. Converting website visitors into the right clients. Why is that so important? Let's say you have 100 people come into your website, but only 2 people convert. That's not a great scenario. What about if you had 20 people come into your website, 10 of those people converted? That's a much better world to want to live in. So you're probably asking, how are these people doing it? Well, they're probably telling a compelling story with design and content on all devices. All right, so telling the right story. Before I get into that detail, I'm going to tell you a story. So last summer I was at a barbecue, and a friend of mine who is an attorney said to me, hey, can you give me some pointers about how I can market my firm? I said, sure, tell me a little about your firm. 10, 15 minutes into it, I still didn't know what he was doing. It was too much information. I said, look, let's pretend you and I are on an elevator, and when I get to the 15th floor, I'm going to make a decision as to which attorney I'm going to hire. So you only have 10 seconds to tell me why I should hire you. I'm about to press the button. Go. Sell me. He said, I'm a real estate attorney and family law attorney in Morristown, New Jersey. Right? I'm practicing law for more than 15 years. We have free consultation. We are a small firm, but we have large firm results. I said, that's fantastic. Is that on your website? He said no. Well, it should be, because you need to tell that story. As Frank was talking about before, people are coming to your website because they have a problem. You need to make sure that your website is the solution to their problems, and so are you. So it needs to be quite clear as to who you are, what you do, why should they hire you, how can they contact you. And remember the elevator pitch. You have 10 seconds to do it, so make it happen. Okay, so next screen, please. Okay, so putting the visuals together. So we're going to talk about a lot of things in the next few screens about putting the visuals together with design and content. One of the pieces we want to talk about is responsive design. But before we get into it, understand what responsive design is. Google came out and they said 60% of their traffic is on a mobile device. Could you imagine if your website is not mobile friendly, how many people are going to your website and the user experience or UX behind it is not good? They can't read it. They have to do that pinch and squeeze just to read the content. Most people are not going to do it, so they're going to leave. Next screen, please. And that is what responsive is all about. It's when a designer, UX developer, create a website that works for every single screen that's out there, whether it's a large screen to the left, it's a laptop, it's a tablet, an iPhone, a phablet, it doesn't matter. They are going to design it so they have control. To talk about that story that we just discussed about a minute ago, the designer is going to come in here and figure out what's the best way to tell that story on every single device that's there. So let's take a look at this example here. So in this example, we have a law firm that focuses on B2B. And over to the left, the eye moves almost like in a Z formation. They start from the left, go over to the right, come down to the banner area, and as you can see, it tells a story, not just on a large screen, but on every single screen that you see here. More importantly, on mobile. Take a look at the mobile. It tells the same exact story as it does on this large screen over here on the left. Now let's take a look at a website that does not have responsive mindset. I apologize if this is your website and you are on the phone. Give us a call at the end. We'll give you 25% off. So this particular website here, take a look at the one to the left. It doesn't really tell a story, right? I don't know where to look. I mean, I can see that they take credit cards, which is not the best thing to show off right up front. You need to tell that story. Let's take a look at a mobile. It's illegible. So what am I going to do again? I'm going to do the pinch and squeeze. I'm sure most of you have gone to a website on a mobile device and it wasn't responsive. So you had to do the pinch and squeeze. How important was it for you to stay on that website, right? Was it that great? Probably not. You probably left. That's the concern that we have. So make sure that your website is responsive and the person that you're hiring understands the user experience behind it to purchase legal needs. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the photo. And besides the photo, we also call it a banner. So that is a large opportunity, and usually right above in the center of the screen there. So take a look at this particular example on A. So this tells the story once again. So the photo, there's a person who's being rushed into emergency room, personal injury attorney, and discusses as to where they are, the location, how long they've been there. And right below are what they call the areas of practice, right? So these are all the topics, subtopics that they cover. Again, very important. It tells me as a viewer the story that I'm looking for. So if unfortunately I was injured in some sort of motorcycle accident, I could find that link quickly and go to that page to get more information. On the other side, on B, let's take a look at this website. Yeah, okay, there's an auto accident picture there. I get that. But where's the supporting copy? It's not there. And there's another accident. I accidentally found a secondary navigation there, and it's really not telling me the story. Once again, I don't know where to look first. Not to mention, this is not set for a mobile device. And the dark blue with the really bright white, it's not really good for your eyes, so the person's not going to have a good time reading it, and they're going to leave. So on this particular website, a lot of people are saying to me, well, what happens if I have a lot of information? I have like 30, 40 areas of practice. How can I organize that? Well, there's an example here. Over on A, you can see how, again, we're still telling the story, but work with your designer to tell that story if you have a lot of information of how they could categorize it, because that's key, right? Your home page is like the foyer of your home. When someone comes in, let's say you're having a party, the foyer of your home, someone's going to say, okay, well, the kitchen's over here, the living room's over here, the dining room's over here. No one really cares where your closet is at this point, right? That's what this is all about. You need to tell the story quickly and easily for every single device. On the other side, for B, it's a little tough. It's a lot of information, but it's a little all over the place. I don't know where to look first. Again, this is not mobile friendly. You're going to have to do another pinch and squeeze. And there's a lot of information, and there's really no home for every single piece. So make sure you work with your designer and make everything organized and easily accessible. All right, so converting content. So this is very, very important. So content is king, context is queen. Why is that so important? If you have 100 pages of content, but it doesn't go against who your target audience is, it's not going to do you any good. So as Frank was talking about before, this cannot be a legal doc. Your home page cannot be a legal doc. You need to understand who your target audience is. If your target audience is B2B, then you can speak to that language. If your target audience are criminals with 6th grade education, this can't be a legal doc. This website is for them, not for you. So there is going to be a place for you to really puff up your chest and show how great you are, and that's going to be your profile. Your profile page needs to have all the information as to why they should hire you, right? So this is going to be your awards, your accolades, your education, your case results. All that needs to be here, but in a clean and a concise manner. So again, work with your designer to make sure everything is concise on every single device. Now, the one piece that's very important is the bio photo. Make sure that it's a professional photo and a current photo. If Ronald Reagan was president and the last time you took that picture, it's time to get a new photo. If you were in the parking lot and your progressive lenses kicked in when the sun was shining and you took that photo and you're going to put that on your website, again, it's time for a new picture. There are a lot of photographers out there that can work with you, or maybe your friend has a really nice camera. Just make sure that it's a professional camera because you are selling legal services, not a 1974 Buick. All right, so encourage interaction, right? It doesn't matter what device. We keep on saying that over and over again, but it's true. You're not going to be there 24/7. So make sure that they could contact you on any single device, whether or not it's an answering service, route calls to a cell phone after hours. Contact information needs to be clear and visible on every single page of your website. Email forms, clear call to actions as to what they need to do. If you're more of an aggressive type of attorney, call us today, something like that. But make sure it's clear and concise. Make sure that messaging is throughout your entire website. Now, you also need to focus on where you're located and be clear as to which geographic areas you serve. Live chat is another great opportunity to get clients involved or prospects involved when you are not there. So again, if you take a look at this example, up on top we have our navigation, what we call a hamburger over to the left, and over to the right you start to see a phone icon. If someone clicks on that, magically you're going to be on the other side, and if someone clicks that little phone icon, the mail icon, that's going to bring up the contact form. So once again, every single device, make sure that someone can contact you. Well, that is my time. Thank you very much. I am going to pass the microphone over to Brian Salamone, where he's going to discuss how his industry changed, and so did his strategy. Brian, how are you doing today?
Wonderful, Felice. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Could you tell us a little bit about the issue that you had with the two different personas and how it was solved?
Well, what occurred was we do one thing, and we do divorce, but throughout the history of the firm, divorce we got a very good name, established name for doing high-end divorces. And as the economy turned, we were losing a huge amount of market share, those people who wanted low-cost, simple divorces. Yet, we didn't want to be typecast as a bargain basement factory divorce mill for $450. It was an interesting dichotomy because those divorces are very easy to do. We have the resources. We have a 20-man staff here. We have the room. We have the computer technology to generate them, get a great profit out of them, convert some of them into a high-end divorce while maintaining the high-end divorce portion of the firm. We also would have liked to use the lower or the simpler divorces to cut the teeth of the new associates. So we had two different client groups, and we needed to get both client groups into the same firm without ruining our reputation or turning off one group against the other. So then what occurred after this was, we looked at the websites and we looked at everything. And in general, what you were saying about content being king and context being queen. We put the content and we looked for a website that would say that the content is we do divorces. There's low-end divorces. There's high-end divorces. Simple divorces needed a separate section of a website. The complex divorces used a different section of the website too. We worked with the web designers. We worked with people to show how can we get this done. It's done by both targeting the groups, the way Frank was saying it. You have to target the groups that you're going towards. So if you're targeting the $450 divorce, we'll call that the simple divorce. We target those people through PPC, SEO, and we direct them to the portion of the website that talks very clearly about how we can do simple, inexpensive solutions to their problems. Simple, inexpensive. So that's where we're going with that. Their key words in connection with simple and inexpensive were uncontested divorce, simple divorce, low-cost divorce, things of that nature. The SEO and the PPC, or pay-per-click, campaign went that way and was directed to the simple part of the website. Then we also had the complex strategies part of the website. That is high-net individuals, difficult custody battles. So we did a separate PPC, pay-per-click, targeted a separate type of audience on that with an SEO towards how we are the best, we have the experience, and we have the manpower to do the very complex, high-end divorces, the stuff that you see in the newspapers and on television, the epic custody battles, and that would be on a separate part of the website. Same website, two different portions, two different client groups, targeting, and then converting, T and C. So the targeting was done through the targeting was done by PPC and SEO and developing content in a context that could be easily understood by each group, easily understood by those seeking a simple divorce and easily understood by those who needed to fight to the end of all living time. And it worked very well for us. In fact, since we did this, we increased our client base 600 clients, and that was only in 9 months, 600 clients. And the best part of that is we were able to convert most all of the clients because they had seen such a customized part of a website that really spoke to them. So the low-end clients would read that part of the website, that things are simple, we have simple solutions. It would speak to them. When they called, they weren't really asking for information. They were calling to hire us. We had fantastic conversion rates. And then there was a hidden conversion whereby there was then, if something happened and it turned complex, they were converted to complex clients because they were already in our firm's database and they already had a rapport with our lawyers. It went the other way as well. When we targeted the high-end divorces, those people went to the part of the website with the content and in a context that really spoke to them. And they looked at the pictures and the facts of what we had done, our experience, and us talking about how we use experts and that we form complex strategies. That spoke to them. So we had much better conversion on these two separate groups because of the website that was built and the way it was placed in the Internet and targeted through PPC and SEO to two different groups, to the one website, the one firm. It was a fantastic result. It was necessary because we were only getting half of the market share. And the uncontested and simple divorces are growing in number. We had to adapt, and at any time you can adapt using the Internet. It's the most adaptive. In the old days, you put something into the yellow pages, and it would just sit there in print. You would have to wait a year before you had to do something. Now, I could offer mediation. You can do branch-offs to the same company that you own. So this is always good. For example, if you have a firm that does foreclosure defenses, you could also offer simple house closings. And you could bring in real estate clients, both the purchasers and the foreclosures. So it's fantastic. It worked very well for us, and the success of this was incredible.
Oh, hey, Brian, thank you. Brian, that was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Great, Brian. Thank you.
Okay. Now I'd like to introduce David Joffe from Joffe Law. David was getting phone calls and emails, but not the right traffic. David, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good, thank you. Can you just tell us a little bit about the traffic you were getting, how it was not the right traffic, and changes that were made to get you that right traffic?
Sure. The traffic that was coming in originally when we first built and designed the site were people that were what I would term more tire kickers and folks that wanted free advice. There were also folks calling about issues that I don't handle and really asking questions that really weren't relevant. They really weren't the type of cases or people that I wanted to attract.
All right. So then, so what changes were made to get you to get you on track?
Well, in terms of, I think there was a natural progression as the site, grew organically in ranking. We were also doing pay-per-click to keep us in front of folks who were searching. We changed the front of the website or the landing page where people went initially, and to make it more relevant, more direct, to show, the number of cases that I've handled in federal court, and to show some of the recent awards that I had received as well, and to make it easier for folks to get into the site and see, I guess, the cases that I've handled, not only the volume of cases, but also the results that we've been able to achieve.
Okay, great. So this is Felice. So the SEO campaign and also organically, you're getting the right traffic, but coming in was the wrong type of client. And then the change was made to focus back on the client that you were trying to go after. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, David, thank you for that. So basically you're saying that the traffic coming to your website, you had a lot of traffic coming to your website. It was just the issue of people coming to your website weren't the right people. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, David, for that. So basically what you were saying is your SEO campaign and also organically, people were coming to your website. It was just the wrong type of people coming to your website. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So once that change was made, how was the results from there?
Well, I found that once the change was made, I started receiving phone calls and email inquiries from the website that were more focused on federal criminal trial work, federal criminal appellate work, and federal post-conviction work. I was able to sign one case that actually paid for the website for the entire year. So, that's a positive in and of it.
Okay, David. So, what advice would you give to someone that has the same issue that you had before?
Perseverance and persistence is the key. Number one. Number two, I think it's important for anyone that builds a website to understand that you can't just build it and put it out into the sphere of the internet and forget about it. You have to be proactive and stay on top of it, and also communicate with the folks that are, handling your website, and give them the benefit of your advice and counsel in terms of what's working, what's not working, so that they know and understand and can work and tweak the website. The website is dynamic and fluid. Things are constantly changing on the internet, and the technology is constantly changing. So you want to make sure that, your site is getting traction, traffic, and that the message that the site is giving is consistent, whether you're using your direct website, whether you're connecting it to Facebook, whether you're using Twitter, whether you're blogging, whatever you're doing. It's something that really requires one to be proactive. I'm not saying you have to spend 100% of your time on it, but you need to pay attention to it because you really have to own the website because it represents who you are. And I think once you do that, you'll see positive results.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you for your time and your advice. So that concludes our webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes our webinar. Now we'll open up for Q&A.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Frank. And thanks to all of you. The discussion so far has been fantastic. And we want to dive in.
This is David Jaffe. I'm here.
Okay, great. We want to dive in first here and take a look at those poll results. So if we could push those out, that would be terrific. So you all can actually see the poll results. You can see what those of you listening in today thought in terms of percentages. And as you see, for the question that we asked is, have you received a client from your website during the past 30 days? Just shy of 33% said yes. Just shy of 39% said no, and 28% said, I'm not sure. The I'm not sure is actually might be the most interesting, but I don't know if anyone on the panel here would like to, before we dive into some of the questions we received, if anyone on the panel would like to sort of comment on any of those, on these poll results that we're seeing. I'm actually sort of intrigued by the I'm not sure's, right? So I think it means that a lot of people really are probably not optimizing their site and sort of getting the kind of reporting out of it that they need. But I'd love to hear some feedback from some of you.
Yeah, Farrell, I agree. 28%. If you don't know if your website is driving traffic, your website is an asset. You need to know if your website is providing value to your business. And if it's not providing value, you need to make changes. It's a great source of marketing and revenue for your business. So if you're not sure, because like that analytics software that we've shown, contact your hosting company. Everyone has it. They have basic analytics that can tell you how many people are coming to your website, what they're doing when they get to your website. They all have it. Take a look at that stuff. It's really important.
Okay. In regards to the no, you need to find out, one, how do they get there, right? How do they get the information? And then I would ask them key questions of what were the main reasons as to why they came to you. Because now that you can start looking at your website, those are going to be the answers on your website. So again, the reason why they came in here is because X, Y, and Z. Maybe X, Y, and Z is not on your website, but now it should be.
And for the yeses, you can drop off now. No, I'm just kidding.
They don't have to take the test at the end, is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. So we do have a number of questions here that we've actually received from the listeners. And I heard you guys talk about this idea of telling a story, right? So would anybody like to chime in here in this idea of, sort of providing a little more detail when somebody's sort of crafting a site? What do you mean by tell a story?
That's a great question. This is Felice. So that question comes up a lot, and what you want to do is, again, trying to understand what the problems are that your clients are having when they're coming in, and then that needs to be the answer on your website, and to be consistent with it. So I'm going to give you an example of Starbucks. So when you walk into Starbucks, you're not going in there to get a 59-cent cup of coffee, right? You're going to go in there and spend $6, $7, but on a good quality cup of coffee. Take a look around next time you're at Starbucks and look at all the signage and all the marketing material. It's all consistent. And by the time you get over to the area where you're going to order, you know what you're going to get. And everything that all the signage that's there is helping you to come to the solution of, I do want a $7 cup of coffee, and I think I want a $4 scone as well, right? So you're going to walk out there spending $11, and the expectations were set from the beginning, right? And that's what you want to do on your website. You're not going to sell coffee, but you're selling a solution, but it needs to be consistent throughout. So on the other side, it would be confusing if the signage was that we are the most inexpensive coffee house in the world, or on the block, and you go up there and you can say, how much for a cup of coffee? And they say $6.99. Obviously, that's a problem, right? So you need to think about what those problems are and be consistent with it.
All right, great. Did anybody else want to chime in on that one? We have a number of questions here, so and if not, I'll be happy to move on to the next one. And we have a question here in terms of website analytics, and someone here wants to know, what sort of website analytic tools do you recommend? So I know you talked a little bit about that, but do you have any specific recommendations that you might want to make to folks now, or specific metrics that they should be tracking?
Yeah, for sure. Google, what I showed you in the deck was Google Analytics. It's free, it's easy to implement for non-technical people, and it ties in the best with Google searches, which is where the bulk of your search directory traffic will be coming from. So I highly recommend Google Analytics. And as far as what to track, keywords. What are the keywords that are driving the traffic to your website? And locations, where when the people are searching or are visiting your website, where are they coming from? So you can know what target areas, to make sure that you're marketing in the right target areas.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on that before we move on? Okay. I have a question here that asks, hey, I seem to be getting the right kind of clients, right? So they've got the site up, they're getting the right kind of clients, but not enough of them. So what's your suggestion in that case, right? So they work with you guys maybe, right, at Martindale, or they work with something, and they build a great site. It's actually getting the right people, but then what do you do then for the more portion of it, right?
Yeah, sure. So you're getting the right kind of traffic, right? So that's a good story there. The first thing that I would look at, again, I'd go back to your analytics software and I'd see where is this traffic coming from, and go look. And so if it's coming from these legal directories that we spoke about earlier, or it's coming from Google, and then look at the keywords that are driving the traffic there, and then going back to that persona and the market segment, say what other keywords should be bringing traffic to your website, and then do those searches in the directories in Google and see what the difference is. So an example would be you're getting family law cases, but maybe you're not getting divorce cases, or you're not getting child custody cases, or something more specific, right? So go do those kinds of searches in those other directories and engines and see what the difference is. And then that'll tell you that where you need to spend more effort on optimizing and marketing your website. But that's a good problem to have. You're getting the right clients. That's a good first step.
Okay, Frank, I have a question for you that came in actually from one of our listeners. We have a general practice firm, they say, and we have several attorneys that do different practice areas that attract different target audiences. How do you make your website speak to those different audiences?
Yeah, so when you're looking at a website, either way, when you're looking at your business, you have to say, my business is focused on this small number of AOPs as my primary focus, right? So if you're a law firm that handles 40 AOPs, there is no way you could give 40 AOPs the same attention to all of them, right? You'll end up getting attention to nobody, right? So choose the like we like to call the ones that maybe keep the lights on, the breadwinners, the ones like that. And those are what you're going to focus in your banner area. So the banner area, if you think back to those pictures that Felice was showing, is that big images, that big area, usually right before the logo. In that area right there, your photography, your marketing message should speak to the 3, 4, maybe 5 top areas of laws that you want to focus on. Below that, you can have a list of all of the other ones that you do, but I would choose the ones that you want to focus on and highlight those in the area.
Yep. And I think another thing, too, that someone could look at is think about whether or not those area practice or AOPs are all at the same level. What do I mean by that? So perhaps is it broken out into family law? So I have like 10, 15 different areas of practice under family law. And then maybe they do personal injury, and I have 20 or 30 that are under personal injury. So now what you could do is kind of break those out under 2 main categories, which is really going to help you out. So you could do one for family law and have the subs under there.
and then the next one could be personal injury. So you just want to be, take a look at it and see what's the best way to organize it. Now, sometimes it's all under maybe personal injury. So you may have 40 subtopics or sub-AOPs under it. So you could just have personal injury as one piece and just have a list view of all those areas of practice together, because that would make sense because they're all under one piece. So again, what you're trying to do is, I keep on saying we were telling that story, but that's going to tell the story quickly and easily. And there are different ways to do it too, especially if you divide it up into what we call buckets, whether it's 2 main buckets, 3, 4. So that's going to help the viewer make a decision as to where they want to go. So if it's something like dog bites, they know if you have 2 buckets, one's family law, one's personal injury, they know they're not going to go into the family law one. They're going to go into personal injury, and that's where they'll find dog bites in there.
If I could just add one more thing on that. When consumers are landing on your website, they're not doing research. They've done their research. Okay, they think they know what kind of area of law they're looking for. So if you practice 20, 10, 15, 20 areas of law, one of the key things that you'll need to do is quickly associate which attorneys practice those. Because when they land on your website, they want to know who here is going to solve my problem. So especially if you've got 10, 20, 30 attorneys, make sure it's easy to associate which area of law each attorney does. Because again, they may go to your practice area pages and they may read about the real estate and the bankruptcy, but believe me, they've done their research. By the time they're landing on your website, they're ready to choose a lawyer.
Yep, and I'm sorry, this is a big question, so that's why I have one last thing. So in regards to, that's more structure and design. In regards to content, just make sure that you're consistent with your pages, right? Where if you break it down, each page into paragraphs, is the first paragraph for that area of practice, let's use dog bites again, talking about what the problem is, that they were bitten by a dog or a loved one was bitten by a dog in that particular state. What are the possible scenarios? And then, of course, the solution would be you. Here's what we can do for you, and then, of course, here's how to contact us. So that format should be consistent throughout.
All right, great. Bleach, I've got a quick question here that I think is probably best suited for you.
Okay.
And they ask her, they say, look, I'm unclear whether my professional photo should be business-like in appearance or can be more casual to give clients a sense of who I am. Do you have any recommendations around that? Maybe it matters by the type of law they practice?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've seen beautiful photography, and I've seen both. So they had, their suit for their bio. You can't go wrong with having a suit or very well dressed for your bio. You cannot go wrong with that. But maybe you could be a little bit more casual if you have more casual photographs sprinkled throughout your website. So that's another opportunity. So if you want to kind of show both, again, on your profile, here's a clean professional shot of us or of that particular person. And then when you go over to the other pages, maybe that's going to show, again, who you are, but you're a little bit more casual. Our atmosphere is more casual. But it kind of depends on, again, your overall persona that you're trying to chase after.
Okay, great. And if I can actually follow up with you on another one, Bleach, and then maybe some of the others might like to jump in here as well. But we have somebody here who asks, if I practice in a niche area like workers' compensation, should I be trying to draw clients to my home page or to a separate page discussing workers' comp? I mean, it might not matter, and I think they might be splitting hairs here, but what are your thoughts on that?
So if that's a niche page that's within their website, then what they could do, they could target their SEO efforts to that particular page. So if they have, if they want to grow their practice for immigration, and it's only a small part of their practice, what they could do is have an SEO campaign that goes directly to that particular page.
I've got some experience on this. It's Brian Salomon.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, great. Thanks, Brian.
It's my specific experience that with a niche, clients are looking for an expert. Now, let's say it's workers' compensation and you do 5 other things. You will lose out to the guy that does workers' compensation. So through the right website development, you can have a part of your website saying, not that you're an expert because you're not supposed to say that, but that you focus and that you're very good at achieving results in workers' compensation. Then I would say not so much SEO, but PPC, by the words workers' compensation specifically, so that those are searching for it will go directly to that part of your website and have a contact form and a number and go right into you. And when you answer that phone, that's workers' compensation coming right to you. I was watching TV yesterday, and they had an ad for, have you been injured in a truck accident? People are getting specific. The negligence attorney trying to get who believe they're special because they were hit by trucks. Workers' compensation people think they're deserving of a workers' comp lawyer, not a jack of all trades. Be that workers' comp lawyer with the content in your site. Have the 10-second elevator pitch that Felice talks about through a PPC to a direct page with a contact form.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thanks, Brian.
That is a solid, specific recommendation. So this is back to Felice and maybe Frank as well. You might want to pitch in here. I have a question about, do you have recommendations as to the process of vetting change with vendors, particularly those who are currently hosting a site? So I guess, and then they asked as a follow-up, what are the market-based metrics by which to measure the visual appeal and content of the site, not SEO? So I guess they're asking first about vendors in terms of the process of vetting the change with the vendors, and then also on the second half is asking about sort of market-based metrics to measure outside of SEO.
Well, yeah, this is Frank. One of the first things that I would do is take your URL and go to Google and search for, is my site responsive? Google has a specific test. You put your URL in there and Google will test it, and it will tell you if your site is responsive. It will also tell you if it's following the best practices and give you all sorts of these metrics and tell you what is doing well and what you're not doing well. That is a good foundation for you to turn around to your vendor and say, hey, I got these errors coming back. What can you do to fix them? And then if you're thinking about going with a new vendor, you're thinking about switching, get some sample websites from that vendor that they've already made and run them through this Google test. So you have an idea of is the vendor already following these cases? Because I can tell you these recommendations that Google came out with, which I think were like 5-6 months ago, I can tell you in the industry as a vendor like we are, we knew they were coming a year ago. So if your vendor is, or a potential vendor, is not up to par where Google is, they're really behind.
Yeah, great point, Frank. And then another piece you could also when you talk to your vendor or interview your vendors as to who you're going to hire, you need to ask them and think about the user experience, right? Do they have the expertise for your particular case here? Because you have a niche, right? You are attorneys. People are coming to your website because they have a problem, and you need to understand if they're going to give you a theme that Ted's Bait Shop is on as well, is that really going to help you out, right? Is that really going to help you grow your business? Sure, you may find a website that looks really nice, but again, if it doesn't tell that story properly, or if it doesn't guide them to, of course, the goal to contact you, then that may not work out for you. But again, just look at their portfolio, see what they have, and especially the tools that Frank was talking about, especially up front. So the more homework you do, the better off you might be.
And the second part of the question is the measure, like the visual appearance and content of a site. The trend now for legal websites is to go towards big photography, like very nice visuals, very nice looking, very clean sites. Something we couldn't do go back like 5 years because the technology wasn't there to make sure that when you were a consumer and you were loading that website, it wouldn't take too long to load. But the way with compression technologies and the way that people like Felice can make really nice photography and not have the file be so big, they can get away with more. So and you know what? it follows the retail industry. They're like the trendsetters. Go to Gap. Go to you know, all these young sites. I'm kidding my age here because I can't even think of any young sites. Banana Republic or Express, things like that. Go to those websites. Look how cool looking they are, how they have big pictures. And when you scroll down, videos are playing in the background, or images are like, as you scroll down, images stay. They call it parallax, and things slide in and slide out, and it's all clean and crisp. That retail, young, you know, websites, companies like that, they make those things, and then, you know, industries like the legal follow a little bit later. But we're now entering that phase. Want to comment, Felicia?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And another big trend is taking a look at the homepage. And again, I know it's like a broken record telling a story, but if you're able to start from the top and you work your way down, you have those really big, beautiful visuals, and you have the supporting content with that, right? Of course, like he gave you the example of Gap or Banana Republic, you have a model with jeans on. And what is that supporting content? That content is talking about the jeans and why you need to buy it. So you're going to have that supporting detail of some sort of pain point as to why they need to hire you. And as you start to scroll down within that homepage, it should tell the story, who you are, what you do, you know, why should they hire you, and of course, how can they contact you? So that's the story that you want to tell, and looking at the different visuals that are out there and understanding who your target audience is. I know a lot of times someone's like, I think this is a really cool website, it's really neat, I really want to focus on that. But if their target audience are you know, elderly law, then you know you don't want to make the buttons too small. You need to think about how the buttons are going to look. So again, everything ties into who your target audience is, and understand the user experience behind it. Make sure that the person is well trained in legal marketing.
All right, that's great, and I can tell you from a media point of view, that remains a big issue here as well. So a couple of years ago, they passed a directive that basically pretty much all stories should have some sort of image on every single article page, and some of the long-standing journalists here were none too pleased about that, but that seems to be the way forward for sure. So I have a question here for Frank, and somebody wants to know, you know, and I guess it may vary per firm, but sort of, or, you know, per firm size rather, but what's a good starting budget for SEO?
I'm actually going to pass that over to our SEO expert, Ashley. Oh, I'm sorry, I should introduce. This is Ashley Boehm. She runs our SEO department here at Martindale.
Hi, everyone. So the budget question is definitely a good question, but I would consider it very specific to what your marketing focus is. So SEO gets more and more competitive as you open up your practice areas wider and you focus on more practice areas that are less niche, and then also the office locations that you are focusing on. So for example, if you're doing SEO for LA divorce, that's going to be a much higher price point than somebody that wants to focus on maybe a more niche area like wills and trusts in LA. So we have things that start as low as $150 a month, so that could be a good starting budget, but it's always appropriate to where you're located.
I was going to ask about location, and thanks for offering that, Ashley. But so, for instance, New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, any of those, adding in any of those search terms, I assume then automatically ratchets up your budget?
Exactly.
Or ratchets up the spend?
Right. And it's important to focus on those because a lot of people do search by geo. So having Houston in that keyword search is something that we found is, you know, something that's searched for people looking for lawyers. So it's something you want to consider and you want to budget appropriately.
I have, as a resident of New York City, I can tell you that I have attached NYC to a lot of my searches, and I'm always sure that somebody paid for that when I get the results. So, so then really it's going to vary then, maybe not significantly, but it will vary in some capacity between, say, Scranton and Philadelphia, for instance.
Exactly.
Perfect. Appreciate that. We have a question here. It says that my firm is a B2B firm. You know, how do we build this type of site, and then how do they analyze it? So obviously some of the cases we're talking about here, some of the instances or the examples we've used are attorneys trying to attract consumers. But what if you're doing more corporate work, B2B work? Any suggestions or anything you want to throw out to those folks in terms of advice?
Sure. This is Felicia again. So for B2B, it's a little different because the shopping habits are different, right, for the end user. So when they're coming in here, they are typically searching for, of course, a solution, but their solution will be much more complex. So when we're talking about how the content can be written, of course, the content now can be written with the language that they understand. But visually, you need to also, it's the same fundamentals as we're talking about with more business to consumers, B2C. A lot of things that may not need to pop out are your call to action, your contact. Typically, it's a smaller type of sell, smaller type of contact. They really play up the attorneys and the information on there. B2B firms typically have much more information to offer about the attorneys. They show a lot more case results and different things, and a lot of them seem to focus on who their clients are, and of course the awards that they were able to achieve and the results. So, and again, it's state specific, so you may not be able to do it within your state, but all those things are for B2B and again more. So when you do hire someone, take a look at, make sure that they do understand how the shopping habits are when someone searches for a B2B firm.
Okay, terrific. And if no one else, does anyone else want to jump in on that question before we wrap up? Okay, great. And unfortunately, this is the end of our session here. I have to say that we've received a tremendous amount of questions. To those of you who we did not get a chance to reach out to today, please know that we will respond to you after the webinar is over, and you're able to contact all of our speakers after the fact. Also, you should be able to download a PDF of today's presentation, so you'll have those materials available to you as well. So please take the time to download those materials if you'd like. And again, do feel free to reach out to us. I would also encourage you to, once again, with any questions, please contact info@martindale.com. Once again, that's info@martindale.com. We do encourage you to continue to reach out to the team, download today's presentation, and if you have any questions, contact us here at ALM again. So, and again, once again, on behalf of ALM, on behalf of Martindale, I'd like to thank all of our speakers today. I'd like to thank you for joining, and I wish you a terrific rest of the day. Thank you very much.